Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Welcome to the Love Pod, everyone. I am your host for today, Nathaniel. I'm so pleased to be here with all of you and to welcome a special guest, the Willful Warrior, Leland Holgate Sr., who is a combat veteran, a breathwork facilitator, and founder of the Willful Warrior. Leland, I'm so thrilled to have you on here. It seems like you've had such an amazing journey, and I just talking with you here, you just had an amazing experience with a manta ray. It sounds like you live a very adventurous life, and I know you're really helping a lot of people through the welcome home method, which I'd love to dive into. And yeah, it's the topic of our times, right? Awakening, breath work, nervous system regulation, all of these things that are in your tool belt. I'd love for you to just introduce more about yourself, your story, and how you come to do this, and what's the why behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. It's great to be here. It's definitely been a very adventurous life, even when I didn't, and I know you know what I mean. When you didn't mean for an adventure to happen, it just happens upon you.
It's true.
So speaking to that, it was interesting because I grew up in a military household. Dad was Special Forces, Army Ranger. Mom was a Army nurse. So it was a very interesting household, I think is the best way to say it, because I like to softly intro it that way for people because it was a lot, of course. But it's important for me to say interesting because it wasn't, when I look back at it, it wasn't bad.
Mm.
Everything, in fact, I'm sure you feel the same way. Everything is feedback, right? Of course, I can classify it as bad, but it was a lot that I went through. You can imagine being with a spec ops operator as a dad. It was kind of like living with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Here's this super loving, real great family man. I mean, that's the one thing I remember about my father was epic family man. He was a loving guy. He was funny, and would love to have all these things. But then spill the Kool-Aid, dink, there's Dr. Hyde. And it was as if my father was no longer present, right? The smallest things would throw him off into a tizzy or rage. And as anybody listening might know, or even yourself, if you've been in any kind of domestic situation like that, it's very easy for you to just take things out on the people who are closest to you. Like, hey, look at that. You're in arm's reach. Bah, you're going to get the backlash of all the trauma that I've, taken on myself. So that was kind of what my whole life in the very beginning of life was. It was an interesting way to come up. And one thing I noticed too was I was already a space holder at the age of 5. And this is why I like to intro. It was interesting. Keep in mind, he was a very loving guy. I loved him. I still revere him in a very, very big way, still hero, but he beat and broke me, and it was physical, it was psychological. I mean, you can just imagine all the trauma. And now, of course, in my position now, I think back, I'm like, God, no wonder you were such a psychopath. Like the things that you went through and the things they put you through. So yeah, it was very interesting moving from about the age of 5 until I left the house. I was Dad's punching bag. I was also his son, he was proud of me. And as I mentioned, loving family man. But there was that aspect of him, of course. So yeah, that was my early years. And then when I decided I was tired of being told what to do, I joined the military myself. Kind of an oxymoron, as you can tell, right? Like, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to go be on my own and be free. I'm going to sign up for the military. So that was me at 17, was asking him to sign off on me getting in early and getting off on my own type of thing. So he refused to sign if I was going Army or Marines. There's the loving father, right? He's thinking, I don't want you to be a psychopath like me. So if you're going to join, I'll sign it if it's going to be Coast Guard or Air Force or potentially Navy or something like that. So I signed up for the Air Force. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as I get in, I pass all the tests, like ace the tests, the ASVAB 100%. I got to pick the job that I wanted. So I picked C-130 Loadmaster. And little did I know that that means you're in an operational squadron. You are out and about. You're taking elite special forces in. You're doing in-air airdrops. You're doing paratroop drops, all these other things. So I remember it distinctly too. When I called him, I got the buzz through my body of remembering the memory. I called him so excited, like, Dad, you won't believe it. The pre-pararescue and combat control stuff, like I aced the physical side of it. I can go do, I can do a hell week and become that. And I told them that I was, as a C-130 Loadmaster, going to SEER training, which is survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. Very specialized training. And all I remember was the phone went silent for like 30 seconds. And all I heard was, "You idiot. You have no idea what you just signed up for."
Mm.
And he was right.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much packed in. I know you have still a lot more to your story,
Yeah,
Leland.
please.
And I'm seeing the little boy growing up in that and all the complexities of navigating that kind of experience. And I appreciate your humility in talking about that as feedback. And I mean, I can just it's like the preface to the Willful Warrior. So I mean, I just want to acknowledge you. I think that I have a lot of respect for all beings who come to the planet in such a time of accelerating change, and I think that big beings with big missions take on these kind of missions, so to speak. Maybe to they go through some of these challenges to bring a new level of awareness. So, yeah, please continue. I just want to acknowledge you and yeah, appreciate you sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I like the way you put that because, yeah, pretty much anybody that chose to come down here at this time, it's a lot. There's a lot going on. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's the Great Awakening. Of course, you're going to be a party to some very emotional experiences and some very dysregulating experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just a part of our this interesting time. And I'm so curious. So like you're doing this big task now. You're in this really interesting situation, and I'm listening to you talk, and I can imagine on one hand it's like I don't want to make any assumptions, but like you're probably wanting to understand your father more in this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. So you go into that world and now you're showing him like you're a man like him too. And so you're in this paradox, right? You're like, yeah, so it's something we're on the edge of the cliff here.
That was like the perfect preface for the next part of the story, because absolutely, and I might not have recognized it until later, definitely recognize it now, but that was definitely a subconscious. I want to go down the same road he did. I want to know why the hell he's such a psychopath, and the only way to understand this is to do it myself. So it was definitely interesting because SEER training, my God, man, that turns everything away. I mean, these guys, the military is the military industrial complex. It doesn't matter what country you come from. They are master Jedi trainers, but it's very different the way that they do it. It's literally brainwashing. So you can think of basic training and combat training and all these things. They literally break you down by making you feel lower than dirt, and then they build you back up the way that they need you to be, right? Not the way they want you to be, the way they need you to be. You signed up to be a soldier or an airman or a seaman. So it was very interesting. I noticed the switch because, of course, you go from basic training. Yeah, you're getting yelled at, you're getting stressed, you have to do push-ups, all these things. It's very physical and mentally and emotionally stressful. Whew. Talk about 100 times that, 100x that. You go into SEER training and they're chasing you. I mean, they put on a show for you to make sure you understand what it feels like if the enemy were chasing you. So for 2 weeks, we're in the northwest side of the United States, trying to run from these Russian soldiers. They have Russian uniforms on, they have AK-47s, they have German Shepherds next to them and Belgian Malinois. They're chasing you, they're firing the weapons. So they put you in a real, you must evade and escape situation. And then from there, they set it up. Yeah, you're trying to get away from them. You're trying to hit these waypoints and get to the destination so you can get the heck out of enemy territory. But they set it up, of course, because this is training, so that you get caught. And the moment you get caught, you literally, I remember what I thought life was the 17 years prior to that, all vacuumed out of me. Like this was the first moment I've ever experienced within the first 60 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, these guys are ripping the tent flaps open with the staged locals of the area of the country that we're in. And all of a sudden the tents come up, guns are going off. These guys come in full force and they're grabbing you like an enemy would, right? So they're grabbing us. They're, yanking us around. You're getting your arms tied behind your back. You're getting gags put in. At that point in time, that was when it clicked for me. I was like, okay, that's to your point. Immediately thought of my dad. The moment that happened. Funny enough, I was not thinking of myself and how can I get out of this? Immediately what hit me was the connection between, okay, now I'm kind of understanding a little bit more of why he couldn't control himself. Because if he did this for 20 plus years, oh my Lord, that's just who you are. It's built into your every fiber, every cell of your body is that person. You identify as that soldier. On top of the fact, everything that you were used to is comforts and, all the creature comforts and conveniences gone, like completely gone. You're not even allowed to salute anymore. You're not allowed to pay respect to the flag. In fact, they make you stand in what's called the position of respect, which is opposite of position of attention. They make you bend over whenever you see your flag, and they make you stand tall when you see their flag type of thing. So it's there again, just breaking you down so that you can understand what it's like on the resistance side to be in a prisoner of war camp. And that's literally what we went through. And it was interesting. It was very interesting. I love using that word because, of course, it leaves it neutral. So that way the person listening can choose the emotion you want to hear this from. But yeah, very, very interesting. And by the end of that, wow, I had like a elevation and emotion there. That was interesting. I love it. Very visceral. My dad and I had a very deep conversation when I graduated from SEER, when I got out of that. And it was, there's the emotions. It was emotional on both sides. He was bawling his eyes out. I was bawling my eyes out. Basically just telling him, look, let go of the 17 years because now I get it. I totally get it. Don't worry. I don't hate you. I've never hated you. I've never, felt an adverse bone in my body towards you. And holy crap, now I get it. I haven't even been sent overseas yet. I haven't even gone operational yet. Just in the training and getting my expert marksman and SEER training, like, oh my dear Lord, I just understood so much more about my father in that aspect. It was a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing in such a, as you were just coming to the, to the bridging of that moment, it occurs to me that a lot of life is about this very singular thing, which is, it takes expression in infinite ways. And it is about our relationships, right? It sounded almost like a death, and I think of people, my background's been in Indigenous wellness, and I've been, I served Indigenous seniors for a number of time. I was around a lot of people passing end of life things, and I've contemplated that that subject a lot, and also what I feel like our human potential is. And I think a lot about our relationships with our parents and one another, and how there's a foundation of love that we all come from, and yet humankind has created such barriers to that in its beliefs about ourselves, but one another in the systems that we've created to condition ourselves and our nervous systems to be oppositional. So what an interesting experience, just as training, and really to also build some compassion for your father. And I imagine other other veterans and other service providers. So yeah, please continue, Leland. I just
Yeah.
want to reflect back to you what I'm feeling from you there.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, it's perfect reflection. Yeah, it was something I didn't expect, right?
Mm,
I definitely did not expect military training to give me some sort of compassionate release and awakening on, experience of early life type of situation. So yeah, it was interesting to find that. And it was definitely something that brought my dad and myself a lot closer
mm,
than we had ever been at that point in time. Like now I understand, right? I'm not quite at his level yet because I haven't gone operational yet, but I get it. Oh my goodness. Um, so after passing SEER training and getting my expert marksman, all the specialized training, I went operational immediately. I was tasked to one of, actually, from the numbers based on when I was in, the most deployed squadron in the entire United States military across all services. 61st Airlift Squadron, and there was also what we call a CADS division there, Combat Aerial Delivery Systems. So it was interesting, again, because here I moved from all of this specialized training to immediately getting tasked to an operational squadron. And by the time I was stationed in Arkansas, when I got there, they let me know, like, yeah, we deploy in 2 months. Like, wow. Oh, okay. Like, I thought this was going to take some time. I was going to need to train and all these other things, which I did. I went through my loadmaster training. But this was also just after Desert Storm, right? So you had Desert Storm, and now we had what was called Operation Northern Watch. And Northern Watch was where we were watching the northern no-fly zones, basically trying to make sure they were behaving themselves before we were there, even though we were not in Iraq at that point in time. Yeah. I'll say that softly without letting things go. So, yeah, immediately my first operational deployment was the Middle East. So Operation Northern Watch, we were in Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, in between there and Kuwait. While we were there and performing Operation Northern Watch tasks, it's been declassified, so I can at least say we were supporting U-2 missions and a lot of the spy things that were happening when, again, we were not there, but we were there type of situation pre the invasion. And while we were there, that was when the Kenyan embassy got bombed. So we were the first squadron that was deployed immediately from PSAB into Kenya to grab everybody out of the embassy and get them the heck out of there. So that was the first deployment. It was kind of interesting to be put in one of, well, as we've seen over the past decade, a very volatile area. And it's, I mean, even if you go back to some of the ancient texts, it's been an area of conflict for quite a long time. It's not
yeah.
like this is a new thing.
Yeah, yeah. It is an interesting part of the world that there's, I've wondered too why. Anyways, I don't want to cut into your story, but I just to acknowledge that it must have been, we don't know, like you said, we don't always know the adventures that are going to come to us, but I can imagine just the acceleration of that change going from training, having this like overwhelming experience of kind of like a life reset, a perspective change, and then immediately thrown into a volatile area like that. That must have been, because I know this is leading into the work you're doing now with Willful Warrior, with breath work, and how just for context, we're hearing it more and more like our issues are in our tissues. So as you're going through all this experience, this is building in your cellular memory, and you're clearly being impacted by all these things and witnessing certain things. So I'm just trying to put myself in that perspective.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's a beautiful addition because not many people pick up on that. So obviously the work you've done, yeah, it's literally being programmed into every cell, right? And we know now, especially as a neuroscientist, what we know, long-term memory is not stored here. There's no long-term memory stored in your brain. We actually still, as neuroscientists, are working to figure it out. But what we have definitely come upon is Long-term memory is actually stored in the crystalline structure of the water of your body. Therefore, like you said, it is stored in every cell, every tissue, every muscle fiber, every piece of fascia or nervous tissue that you have woven through this beautiful body that you're driving. It's programming every experience of who you are, what you've been through, and everything else. So yeah, your receipts are in your cells.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking more about what some of the unwinding process and what you're finding from that. But continue, please.
Yeah, for sure. So we get back from that, and we have a little bit of time, of course, but not too much time because if I'm sure you remember, some people do. It was interesting. This conflict kind of went under the radar for so many people. Kosovo, Yugoslavia. We were there for that. We were actually one of the first squadrons again when Operation Anvil was declared, and we were going to go over and stop Slobodan Milosevic. We were one of the first squadrons to immediately be tasked into Simbach, Germany, which was our forward operating base. And then from there, we would come into Rhinus Air Force Base or Air Base in Albania, 17 miles over the enemy territory where they were shelling. And I mean, 750,000 displaced refugees. I don't even want to tell you about, the number dead and the innocents that were lost and that whole thing. That was a very ugly conflict. It was a very short conflict, but it was absolute chaos. It was pandemonium. Especially, it wasn't just him telling the Kosovoans, no, you can't have your own country. He was hitting the Albanians. He was hitting, settlements around Yugoslavia. It was not just Kosovo that was getting hit. So we had to free Albania from them as well. So that was, that was the last deployment. And that's kind of foreboding for what's to come. But that was, I think, one of the most substantial times of my life because the last mission out of Rhinus Air Base, we're 17 miles over the enemy border, essentially. And as we're taking off, we got lit up or painted, for those that don't know, locked on by a surface-to-air missile site. So as you're taking off in a cargo aircraft, I'm sure you can imagine, it's like a pig with wings, right? You're trying to get this big thing with all these people and cargo in it to take off. So as you're taking off, it's the most vulnerable time ever inside of a cargo aircraft. And it was probably at about 150 to 200 feet. So very soon after we actually took off from the air base, the bitch and Betty went off, which is what we call it. It's the alarm system. And you could hear, I mean, I can't even describe in words the chaos that happens with these alarms because they're doing it to make sure you don't miss that there's something, if you've heard a fire alarm before, imagine that times 100. Wow. That's literally what's going on. It's happening in your headset. And for me, as the load master, my job is to be at the back of the aircraft and to hold what's called the pickle. So I'm just out there pumping chaff and flare, which is for radar guided or heat seeking missiles, right? So of course you can imagine it's a very stressful time because you're immediately thinking to yourself, I'm in danger. That automatically puts you in that fight or flight. It doesn't matter if you're coherent or not, you're sympathetically activated. Your gas pedal is now jammed down. And we didn't see any smoke, thank God, which means they didn't fire on us, or else I would not be having this conversation with you right now. But that was one of the problems with the Serbians was they had so many surface to air missiles we couldn't find, and they would do this paint you, fire, and then they would power down. So we couldn't find them ever. It was like out of nowhere in this sparse forest, you're lit up by something and you're trying to figure out where it is. But by the time you figure out where it is, they've already fired at you or they turn off all their systems and you can't find them. So this was thankfully them just trying to scare the crap out of us. And it worked. It did a really great job because for almost 15 minutes, we're yanking, we're banking, and it may sound counterintuitive, but when you find the missile, which of course I didn't see any smoke trails, thank God, but when you find the missile, we're one there, you actually want to turn into it. And I know, again, it sounds counterintuitive, but that covers up all your the heat area that's
Mhm.
happening, the heat
Mhm.
bloom from all the engines and stuff. So you can imagine this thing that's a cargo aircraft is being flown like a
Wow.
fighter jet right now. So you're just in the back all over the place. I mean, I'm watching Green Beret pull out their vomit bags, and these guys are elite special forces. Not to mention the fact I've got my weapon here. I've got my rifle right over there, very close. I've got special forces brothers that are right there. I mean, armed to the teeth, all useless, all useless. It was the most helpless moment I had ever felt in my life. I have never felt that helpless before.
Mhm.
You've been trained to respond to the most dangerous situations on the planet, and now all I can do is this.
Wow. Wow. What a picture you've painted. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, so that feeds in to the next bit of this and where I am as of today and part of my story. Because as you can imagine, of course, I felt like a prisoner in my own mind. And this is where I can definitely see eye to eye with my combat veteran brothers and sisters who come back and who are, and nothing against those that weren't in combat. You're still going to come out of the military with PTSD. It doesn't matter. If you're a non-combat troop, it does not matter. Don't. One thing I try to adjust for people is, oh, well, yeah, I've had a rough life, but I'm not a combat veteran. That doesn't matter. That does
Mhm.
not matter. Yes, I'm a combat veteran. So are you in your own sense, even if you didn't join the military. Your worst trauma, your
Mhm.
brain and body processed it just like
Yeah.
my brain processed my worst trauma. So
Mhm.
just making sure everybody knows before I continue forward with that. But I definitely understand now why so many people, like my dad, come back from the war and the war never stopped.
Mhm.
It just kept going because it's built into every cell of their body. And I couldn't even, there was no sleeping. There's no such thing as that. I would close my eyes, and immediately I would hear it. I would smell it. I'd wake up sweating in a pool of my own sweat, right? It was amazing how quickly that memory would pop up. And of course, the body and the brain is objective. It doesn't know it's not happening. So it responds as if it's happening. So there was no sleep. There was no rest and recovery. So they gave us 3 days of R&R to go blow off steam. And as you can imagine, we can't just go ride a bike or, let's go for a brisk walk. So we had to do something to get the haunches up on the back of our neck. And we decided, well, let's do something that seems innocuous. And in our way of being, we took something that is innocuous, inner tubing. Everybody does it. It's a weekend delight, right? You go get pulled behind a boat. But for us, of course, we were thinking, how fast can we go? And who can hold on the longest? So let's push this.
And this is like military boats?
Well, no, it was, we rented
Okay.
yeah, we rented like water,
Okay.
the wave runners and all that good stuff, in the boat. So yeah, no military equipment, thank goodness. Because I might not be here. But yeah, it was so it was interesting. We're out there and we're doing the inner tubing thing, and it's my turn. And as he hits the gas, I could just hear the gas. I could feel the acceleration. And then when the skips became fewer and fewer and fewer between, and I was like almost flying, that's when I kind of tuned into, hold on a minute, this is probably not a really good idea. And the moment, literally, when I thought that, he cut left. And you can imagine, I saw it ahead of time as well. I was like, oh God. And the moment that the line caught up to him going this way, there was no holding on. There was
Yeah.
absolutely no holding
Wow.
on. So I went Superman style in the air. And all I remember is water, and that was it. Black. I was out from that point forward because that was when I hit the water. I came down chin first apparently, and then that was pretty much it for me.
Wow. Wow. And when you say it for you, do you mean that was like were you concussed? Like was that the
I
conclusion of
was
your
dead.
you were
I
dead?
was gone. I was
Wow.
gone. At that
Wow.
point in time, what I didn't know, and this is again kind of given some of what they told me in the hospital, what I didn't know was my vertebra on the back cramped down on C1 and C2. That's
Wow. Wow.
literally right where your brainstem is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh crap, breathing, heart rate,
Wow.
breath, all those things are there. So when I hit, breathing stopped, heart rate turned
Wow.
off immediately. So no
Wow.
heartbeat, no breathing, just floating face down in the water.
So you went to blow off steam and you blew off all the steam.
All the steam, every single load of it. Yeah.
Wow. Jeez, man.
apparently,
Wow.
apparently I tried to use the emergency escape or the sole emergency escape.
You had your opportunity to leave and you
Yeah.
stuck
Yeah.
around. So clearly you have some important work to do here, Leland.
Exactly what
Wow,
I
man.
thought myself.
So wow, so to go from one trauma, like such a like to I'd imagine the moment you were in the plane too, that's like it's not only just you because you're everyone else in there is having their own experience and I mean, we're all interconnected, right? So you can feel other people's nervous systems. You're just in this like communal trauma, and then
Yeah.
to be given some time off to go try to get that out of your system and then to be brought to such an intense impactful thing. Did that end your military career or
Yeah, that was pretty much it. There was a time after I healed, because as everybody can tell, I have all the movement in my pieces and parts, thank God.
I was wondering if
Um,
this was going to turn into like the Sixth Sense and you were going to tell us, yeah, we're in there. I was like, just here's the news for you, Nathaniel. Oh, really? What happened to me?
I love it, and then I poof. Oh my God. Yeah, it was interesting for sure, because they tried at one point in time after I had, regained some part of me too. They offered me like the most minimal, like, we'll put you in a closet somewhere and like you have your hand out and stuff or whatever. You can be data entry. And so they gave me the option. They were already leaning towards honorable medical discharge, full medical retirement, but they gave me that option, right? So the guy was like, or you could stick around and just kind of do data entry. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? After what my job, I'm going to sit in a closet after what I was doing
Yeah, yeah,
before. Like,
yeah.
no, medically
Wow.
retire me,
Yeah.
sir.
Incredible story, Leland.
What's that?
Just an incredible story, like
Thank you.
such a like an acceleration of intensity.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
so then you get to medically retire, which sounds like a miracle, by the way, to have your C1 and C2 crushed and to be dead. So do you like was that an experience that you remember? I mean, I've sat across the
Yeah.
table from some other folks that have had NDEs and
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
want to
Had a total out of body experience. It was actually why I call it the welcome home method. It literally, the way that I try to describe it for folks is, imagine working 12 hours and when you come home, you sit on the couch, you take your boots off. That you feel on the couch, that's what I felt, but at a soul level. And there was no audio, there was no wants, there was no needs, there was no desires. There was just pure isness. That's the only way I can describe it. It's
Yeah.
just there is everything. There's no thinking on why this is. No, just is, just experiencing everything visually. Um, but yeah, no audio, no thoughts, no wants, no desires. And oddly enough, I described the way that the state trooper revived me, and it was not typical chest compressions to breaths. And I described that to my friends, and they're like, how the hell did you know that? And I was like, dude, I was like looking over his shoulder as he was trying to get my body going again. And it was interesting, because what he did was he used his knuckles and just popped me right in the heart and did this xylophone, like as rough as he could, up and down and up and down and
Wow.
up and down on my rib area, just to get my heart going again. And it
Mm.
worked. It absolutely
Wow.
worked. Brought the heartbeat back in. And it was 3 minutes and 48 seconds. I was no longer on this planet, technically.
Wow. That's profound, man. And I like many people who go through near-death experiences. It's often the thing that changes the whole trajectory of a lifetime. So how did it shift things within you?
Yeah, it most definitely did. My goodness. Without that, I would not be who I am today. The whole contrast of it is what set me up for where I currently am and what I do. Because you go from the most peaceful experience you've ever had in your life, and then it felt like somebody body slammed me back into my body, and I jolt awake inside of the ambulance. Horse collar around my neck. Of course, it feels like I'm flashbanged. Anybody that remembers the Peanuts cartoons, like the parents, I could hear that. I knew people were talking, but all I could hear was everything was still kind of fuzzy. Felt like I had been flashbanged. And then finally, when I come to, I start to notice this real intense pain right at the back of my occipital lobe, right? The base of your cranium right there. And I was trying to figure out why the hell that hurt so bad. And then I've got this EMT calling me by my last name, like, Holgate, hey, can you feel that? Hey, Holgate, hey, you're trying to get my attention, trying to get me back to alertness. And then eventually, shook off what was happening as far as the fog goes and got tired of the question. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Can I feel that? And he said, oh no, you don't want to hear that from your doctor, your EMT, or your pilot. You never want to hear those things. So immediately that, as you can imagine, kicked my cortisol up. I was like, oh no, what do you mean? Oh no. That's when he had told me, he's like, you're not feeling that. He had been sticking me with a hypodermic needle, trying to get some sort of nervous response and checking, of course, for reflex and all that. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And then that was the moment that I tuned into, why does it feel like there's an elephant on my chest? It's really hard to breathe right now. Like, what the heck is going on? And then I tuned into, hold on a minute, it's really hard to swallow. Where are my arms? Why can't I feel my legs? And that was when I just got a rush of like, chemicals going through my body. At that point in time, I had tuned into, I can't feel anything below my Adam's apple. What in the hell? And then again, that same feeling from the aircraft, helpless, prisoner in my own body, prisoner in my own mind. Oh my God, completely activated into the fight or flight from that point, because now I'm trying to figure out why I can't feel my body. Why can't I move things? What's going on? I'm asking him 50,000 questions, trying to figure out what the hell, what's going on? It was probably, we're hour and a half away from Little Rock General. You can imagine that was the longest hour and a half ride I've ever had in a vehicle, just trapped in my own body, trapped in my own mind. Now I've got that helpless moment that I had in Kosovo, and mix that now with the fact that I can't run away from that anymore. I can't do anything physically whatsoever. And when we got to the hospital, they did the scans, and that's when they found a silver dollar size contusion right on C1, C2. And this was 1999. So you can imagine the conversation I was getting from the then neurologists. Very different. Neuroplasticity, if anybody remembers, was just a baby then.
Yeah,
it was just barely being accepted that you're not stuck with what you're born with. Oh, the body can create new neurons. It can grow. It's plastic. So the conversations I was getting from the doctors were not very hopeful. It was, you can't heal nerve tissue. This is probably going to be the rest of your life. Even if you get something back, you might get above the waist back, but you're probably never going to walk again type scenario. All shy of my 20th birthday. So, I mean, you can imagine, here I am, Jedi trained. I'm out there doing things people can't even imagine. And now I am literally just a puddle of goo laying on bed that has a head that can think of things, but nothing else works whatsoever. So it was probably 3 of the darkest days I've ever had in my life.
Only 3 days. Wow. I mean, as much as the intensity I can't imagine, but what shifted? Did you still have remembrance of the peaceful experience of before re-entering the body?
Yeah, wow. Absolutely.
What a contrast to hold.
Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those things where it's like, I was yearning for that. Like, give me that back. Like, I'll take that experience again, please. Yearning for that. But at the third day, and I mean, I went full woe is me, as you can imagine, right? I was asking my friends who were operators, dude, you know what to do. Don't leave me like this. Don't you dare leave. I'll come back and haunt you and bite you at the ankles if that's all I can move as a ghost. Like, do not leave me alive like this. I cannot live like this. So all the way to the point where I was asking friends to just knock me off. Sodium pentothal, go get it. You know what to do. You guys know your toxins and everything else. Give me 100 cc's of that and I'll just drift away into sleep. Of course, they weren't going to do that. They're there for me. And I made it through to the point where the doctor was in on day 3 doing one of his managing life limitation speeches. And the reason I say it was 3 days was on that third day. It's just something in me. It was the SEER training, actually. In SEER training, what they're hitting you with is 3 strikes, you are never out. There's always one more thing that you can do. Continue to resist. We have not forgotten you. Keep fighting. Keep resisting. Fight, fight, fight. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. So that was just built into my being. And I got that rush of emotions again. So in that moment, all of that just somehow drilled right into my brain. And as he's saying the things that I'm probably never going to do again, I just exploitive told him, no, that is not going to be my way of being. So as I said the F no to him, I had this zhunk that went down the scalene muscles just to the edge of my shoulder. Wasn't huge, wasn't a lot, but it was quite certainly profound because I have felt nothing now for the past few days from this point down.
Wow.
Now all of a sudden, because I got angry and expressed, no, this will not be the way that I'm going to be for the rest of my life, body responded like, oh,
Wow.
okay, let's give him a little bit of something. That was the end at that moment in time. And for that part of it, that was the end of that piece of suffering for me, because all I needed was the possibility, like, oh, here's the authority telling me what's not going to happen, but it's happening. Like, okay, you can move along, Doc. I've got some conversations to have with my brothers now.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, it reminds me of other profound individuals that I've heard, like Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about similarly, like breaking his back, and it's I hope that some people in the medical field, I hope as many of them can hear your story as possible, because the beliefs that often are expounded to people, who get a certain diagnosis become self-fulfilling, and there's kind of like lip service to the placebo effect, but we barely understand the level of our potential as beings. So what a true miracle, right? To be in a moment where you declare. It reminds me too of something. I don't know if you're aware of Walter Russell. Yeah, because he died. He was like pronounced dead by 3 doctors, and in that state of existence, he realized he could reanimate the body and did so, and then came back as a totally different person. And I just feel like we're just as a species starting to wake up to the profound capacity that we have as beings of consciousness. So please continue, man. Like, I feel like I'm in a movie.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you mentioned Dr. Joe, because he's my mentor. He was my mentor for 5 years. I volunteered at his retreats, and so I got to spend some time shoulder to shoulder with him. And for sure, that was definitely a discussion. The similarities between our 2 stories, type of thing.
Okay, well, I certainly want to jump into some subject matter around this as well, but I don't want to interrupt your story. Please continue.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's good. That was a nice little pit stop. Yeah, to your point, literally, and here's what I want people to also recognize. I think you said something profoundly, profoundly important. This is why I'm studying to be a doctor. I'm in my graduate studies right now at University of Florida for my master's in biomedical neuroscience, and then I'm moving on to a doctorate in neurochemistry. You said what I think all doctors should have drilled into their head as they're going through medical training. Remember, you're the first person that's going to be talking to this person after potentially one of the most traumatic experiences of their life. The last thing that you should do is vacuum hope out of the room, because without that, we have no reason to continue forward. And, funny enough, to that point, when I think about it, there are so many people that I work with spinal cord injuries and everything else, 10 years post injury, still stuck in a wheelchair. Then I work with them and they can wiggle toes or lift
Wow.
feet. What if their doctor told them in the very beginning, hey, you just need to move your body. You need to like really tune into the possibility that you can get it back. What if they had that doctor? They might potentially not be in a wheelchair right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very profound point. And I figured I'd highlight that before I continued, because I think that's a huge thing for medical professionals, even nurses. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you are an integration specialist or medical professional, please keep hope alive for your people.
Yeah. And continue to do your own self-awareness, I think is a big
Please.
part of that, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
just I think there's a lot of evolution that needs to happen in terms of the paradigms within the sick care system. Let's call
I
it
am
what it
so
is.
glad you called it what it is. It is not a healthcare system. They've got us like hoodwinked. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, it was epic having my fortitude already built. And again, I give a lot of that, not just to myself, which I do, I take credit for that as well, but the training that I went through, right? The training told me, hold on, this is not it. You're not done. There's something else that can happen here. And I fed into that, which means I fed into possibility and potential. And if you can feed into those two things, the world and the universe is your absolute oyster. You can do anything you want. I promise you anything you want. And from that point, as when the student's ready, the teacher shall appear. Wouldn't you know, the next morning when I get my PT, my physiotherapist, he's the one male physical therapist possibly at that time in age in the medical field in the military. Not to mention, he's also an Ashtanga yogi. So there's no such thing as coincidence. You know that. I know that.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah. So in walks this yogi. And now keep in mind, of course, I'm 19, right? I'm just shy of my 20th birthday. I'm military trained. I really don't have any experience with any of the healing arts, yoga, breath work, any of these things. So for the first moment, I thought it was my friends playing a prank on me, because we do that in the military. We prank each other constantly. It's a funny thing. There's this camaraderie that happens. So he walks into the room and he looks down at me and he says, all right, so we're going to do the typical boring, let's move your arms and legs and, the physiotherapy. We're going to do all those things, but I want to really do something extra with you as we're doing this. We're going to do yoga. And I just stopped and I looked at him and literally said, I was like, dude, if I could move my legs right now, I'd kick you in the throat. That's really hilarious. Who told you to come in and say that? Who was it? Was it Jeff? Was it Tony? And I noticed his face wasn't changing. I was like, oh, you're serious? Dude, do you know who you're talking to? Did you read my chart? Like, how am I going to do yoga? And then that was when he hit me with it. He was like, man, you obviously have been looking at Lululemon advertisements or whatever. Lululemon wasn't there, but that was his point. He's like, you've been looking at magazine ads of hot 20-year-olds and yoga pants and these really cool asanas. That's not yoga. That's actually one part of the 8 limbs of yoga. When that was my first, exploration into the 8 limbs of yoga. He was trying to basically get me to recognize, dude, seriously, it's 1/8 of the limbs. And if you really pull out how important those parts of yoga are, that's 5% of yoga is the asana side of it. The other part, pranayama, controlling of the breath and the life force that runs throughout your body. If you can control the breath, control the mind, or control the life force that's running through your body, everything else follows it. You don't have to control the mind. You don't have to control the body. All you need to do is literally tune in with your breath, tune in with where you're at in the moment, letting go, releasing, and everything else. That's yoga. So when he hit me with that, I was like, all right. I softened a little bit, of course, because you can imagine I was the skeptic. Then I was like, oh, great. Got one of these guys, friggin' wahoo in my room talking about yoga. Yeah, that's going to do it. And he told me, he was like, yeah, we're going to go through actually right now something that's called a tumo breath. It's very similar to Bastrika. I didn't know what that was at that point in time, but he was describing Bastrika breath, which is a yoga breath, and tumo breathing, which is, for people who don't know what tumo breathing is, very similar to Wim Hof style type breathing.
Okay.
Cyclic hyperventilation, right?
Okay.
Breathing in and out on purpose to like create a stimulation in the body. So he led me through that first round. Oh, I got chills going through my body again. I love it. Body's remembering. So we go through that first round, and it was 30, 35 inhales, exhales. I'm feeling like lightheaded, like what the hell is going on? And then he took me into my first kumbhaka, and that's a hold, right? It means much, much more than that, because in Sanskrit, one word is a whole paragraph. But he took me into my first breath hold. So he told me to breathe in. I held my breath, and bing, I was back in that place.
Wow.
I was back in the exact same space, out of my body, like, wow, okay, yeah, I think I can do this. And as I landed back on this plane and just kind of settled back, the 5-year-old in me, I mean, I feel like the best emotions welling up in me right now. Like the 5-year-old in me looked at him with the widest eyes, and the only thing I could blurt out was, again.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow, man.
it was epic. It was epic. He took
Wow.
me through multiple rounds after that. So
there's a magic to your storytelling, Leland. And what I really appreciate about you is how intensely you feel things. Many times through the conversation, you've brought this up, and I think this is a testament to the work that you're doing. And I also feel like it's a big part of what Christ talked about when he said, "Through the eyes of a child, is how we return to a state of heaven." We're meant to feel everything. We're meant to be connected to our physiology, to the body, to the breath, to our essence, our soulful self, so intensely that we're feeling everything just like young children do, and they go through the roller coasters of emotions. So I really appreciate that about you. I think it's an awesome quality, and the fact that you are also a warrior, I think is so important. And I can see that you're a bright light that others are having an increase in their own life. So what an incredible story, man. Please continue.
Thank you. And yeah, to your point, and I think this is actually, it's one of the most important things that I would love to help shift in this world for people is, what is a warrior? It's not this, I promise you. It's not this. It's not the fighting, combat, and everything else. No. That's why I called the company that we operate from the Willful Warrior, because it's literally about what you just said. A true warrior allows themselves to experience what's happening, even the bad things or the things we don't want to experience, because if you don't experience that, you're not going to pull the lesson out of that moment that you need to reach the next level of your life. So yeah, I think that was a perfect interjection there. It's literally the shift that can change everyone's life when you recognize that.
Yeah. It's a transcendence of fear, right? And from the limitations of what the ego thinks it is to a greater experience of possibility, like you were experiencing on the bed with Yogi.
Exactly. I think it's especially in this society nowadays, we are perpetually wanting the Zen experience. We're perpetually wanting to be happy and all of these things. But then you have to realize, even if you just take it down to the basic biological function, your heart rate and your breath and your brain waves go like this because you have a gas pedal and a brake pedal. You can't live up here all the time. Not to mention, what the hell would be the point in this experience, right? I come in as a soul to learn something, but the only thing I learn is how to be happy, how to get everything I want, how to experience all the bliss of life. Like, well, all of those things aren't really that important without the other side. So yeah, it's all contrast, right? And I think that's one of the things that I'm trying to help people recognize with emotional regulation is, it's not so much about doing away with a thing.
Yeah.
It's more about tuning in to that experience, because the only way out is in.
Yeah.
It's the only way to get out of whatever whatever you are declaring right now. I
Mm,
don't want anymore. You got to be the buffalo, man. Only way
mm,
to get it is to go through it.
mm. Well, and
So,
that level of mastery too, I think is really important. I feel like, our you know, as much as suffering has value, I think that we don't need to prolong it either. And I feel like, we can raise our capacity to experience because there's no returning home. But I feel like there's also like arriving at home is not the end of the journey. I feel like when we do truly transcend the ego and live from a place of, the abundant life and the way that we are in more harmony, well, that can be the ground from which we rise, right? Because we're
exactly.
creative beings. So I feel like humankind has learned a lot about the lessons of suffering, and I feel like we're in a transitional time where the consciousness energies are available that we can also like the opportunity for that buffalo to go through the door right now. I feel is so present
Yeah.
that we can really lock hands together and rise together. So and that this is exactly leads to the kind of work that you're doing, right? In
Yeah.
that assistance of those who need this connection, who don't have the knowledge and experience like that young 19-year-old veteran. Very traumatized was in, right? What's yoga? People still think, I mean, there's still a lot of people who think it's just the asanas, right? They don't realize what
Yeah.
yoga means, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're all still kind of looking at it as the yoga magazine, cover. Like, yeah, that's part of it. Very small. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I think one of the things too that you pointed out there that will help feed into me continuing with where I went is what you said. I feel like highlighting Dr. Joe says it all the time as well. We're all walking each other home. I can act like I have it all figured out. I have my piece of the puzzle figured out. You have your piece of the puzzle figured out. And if we walk shoulder to shoulder in the
Yeah.
same direction, now we have two big puzzle pieces put together. And then,
Mhm.
of course, as we move on, ourselves as this community, and we just allow ourselves to enrich our lives through the experience of others. Because one of the internal ways of beings called the niyamas, and it's basically the 10 commandments of yoga type thing. Um, one of the internal studies is called svadhyaya, and that's self-study, right? But it also means to hand that on to the next
Mm.
generation, to hand that on to the person that's shoulder to shoulder with you,
Okay.
because they again might get to skip the suffering, or at least the length of suffering for a certain experience,
Yeah.
because now they had your information, knowledge, and wisdom alongside them.
Mm. That's
So
amazing.
yeah,
That's beautiful. What a beautiful teaching. And I think in the West we don't often appreciate how deep the Vedas and all the science really. It's a really whole system of science and all the different legs of it. It's so deep and vast. I don't think we have
it is.
a really an appreciation of how deep that those sciences are. Amazing,
True.
man.
True. Yeah, and thankfully I get to be one of those people. What I do with the Willful Warrior is it's science meets soul. I'm
Mm,
right down the center. I will describe to you neurochemically, biochemically what's happening in your body so that you can understand it.
mm.
And then you find the spiritual or nerdy side of it, whichever way you want to lean to, type of thing. But all I'm doing as a neuroscientist is proving what these people 7 to 10,000 years ago already knew.
Mm. Yeah.
We're scratching the surface. We like to think as if we're the most advanced
Mhm.
technological and knowledge-based type of information as humans. No, no, these
Yeah.
people got this stuff figured out way back.
Yeah, there is a certain lesson in humility that we haven't quite figured out as civilization. And, I mean, we haven't even figured out the pyramids. You can't stick a butter knife between those things, and we don't know how they moved them. I mean, there's a
Exactly.
lot there, right? And also, I feel like, too, like the East talks about, and almost every indigenous culture talks about this time of great awakening. We're in a really interesting Kali Yuga. We talk about interesting, right? Like what I've had other guests on the show talk about this golden Kali Yuga that we have an opportunity to awaken within this time of great forgetting. And so I also wouldn't downplay, like, I feel like we don't even realize the shoulders of the giants that we stand upon. I think we're just beginning to remember that. And
Well
I feel
said.
like there's such a gift in the human species. We've been told a lot of rubbish about we're bad, we're destroying the planet, all this stuff, and I believe that's just part of the conditioning. I
Yeah.
think there is something so brilliant within each of us that's hidden within the self.
Yeah.
And I agree. I really love your portrayal. I call it the law of the circle. I've
I
spent a lot of
love
time in
that.
different circles. And the thing with the circle is you can have truth right in the center. If it's a drum or water, whatever the truth is, the isness, we need to listen to our brothers and sisters across the way to really get a better picture of what that truth is. If it's just our perspective, we only have a very limited puzzle piece, as you were saying.
Right, right. Yeah. No, that's a really epic point, and it's something I continue to tune into. The more it's funny too, because since I'm already in this space, it's really easy to go through neuroanatomy 3 or, abnormal neuroscience or all these different things and pull out of it again where it's like, oh yeah, they already knew that, but now I have verbiage to put behind it type of thing. Like now I can describe the ions, chemical compounds, and all these other things. But literally, what I'm reading right now is something I read in a yoga book a way, way back. So it's kind
So
of cool
funny,
to
eh?
your
Yeah.
point.
Yep. So funny. Science likes to claim that it's figured it out, but yeah, man, it's we really are at a really interesting. It really is a beautifully interesting time where science and spirituality are bridging a profound territory, and I
Yeah.
think it's going to lead to all kinds of things that we never even imagined as a civilization.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like myself and then my other neuroscience colleagues, and even the ones that are already out and doing their doctoral work, we're having consciousness conversations yet that wasn't happening in the 90s and the
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
2000s. That was a very woo woo
Well,
shut up.
it was only part of the left part of the brain there that could do language, right? Everything else is
Exactly.
unconscious in life. I mean, there's no intelligence other than the left part of our brain.
Yeah.
Like what? It's so funny, like the baloney, like just when you when you really conceptualize that was like what like in the 90s. Like it's
Yeah,
just so
it's literally
crazy.
less than 40 years ago.
Right.
That's what I love about what you're pointing out is if people can recognize, I mean, even 1999, right?
Mhm.
Neuroplasticity was still not
Mhm.
accepted yet
Yeah.
widely, even amongst neuroscientists.
Yeah.
No, they were still stuck in a no, 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 no. What you're born with, you got, and that's it. And
Yeah.
you can't do anything else with it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so people can hear that again from what you just said. Like, serious, even 20 to 25 years ago,
Mhm.
the knowledge we have now, it's insane.
Yeah.
The change, it's like 180 change. I'll give you an example. All of the biology books, all of the physiology, neuroscience, every book inside of the medical community has to be rewritten because of one gas,
Mm.
carbon dioxide, because we thought it was a waste gas.
Mm.
No, it's
Mm.
actually one of the most important compounds in your body.
Wow.
And it's the
Wow.
reason you can breathe. We thought it was just a byproduct, a waste
Isn't that
gas. Nope.
interesting?
Nope. It
So
is actually
fascinating.
it's
Wow.
actually more important than oxygen is. Yes, you need
Holy.
oxygen, but
That's
it's
news to me,
more.
man. So interesting too, because of all the talk. I mean, it's a crucial conversation too, because here in Canada at least they've been this ridiculous thing called the carbon tax, and I'm like, well,
Oh,
hey, wait a
dear
minute,
Lord.
we are carbon-based beings.
Yeah.
So like how absurd can we keep going down this path, especially if you looked at the carbon dioxide
Yeah,
profile of the
it's
ice age?
gone
We're
off.
in a low period. I mean,
Yes.
times of abundance have had much more carbon dioxide. So I really do question some of the agendas behind some of the
Same.
beliefs, right? And
Same.
and all the more encouragement and motivation with that seer training that you said. It's like we're coming for you, keep going. Gandalf's going to arrive on the light at some point. Our mastery will emerge. We have to continue on our path of awakening and our own
Absolutely.
mastery. So,
Absolutely.
man,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful story. I really appreciate the journey you've been on
Yeah. Yeah.
and
My
continue
pleasure.
to grow in.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can imagine from that point forward, once he walked in and did his breath magic with me, and that was the cool thing. Like I told you, I did the again thing, right? Again, let's do that again. Well, on the second one, I started getting pins and needles just in the top part of the chest, not too deep down into the body, but so I had that happen the day before. And now all of a sudden I got pins and needles. I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on a minute. Are you telling me I can control this? I can
Wow.
make this type of stuff happen? And that was it. I mean, I dug in like a tick in the hospital, all the way to the point where I had them code blue me a couple of times because I'm
Wow.
doing like a breath hold, and the body, starts to do little. Anybody that's done breath work, it's like the body occasionally will doing its own thing.
Yep.
So here they are
It's
thinking
releasing
I'm
trauma, right?
going. They think I'm
Wow.
coding, and I'm like, no, 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 I'm good. I'm just breathing. So it turned me into a breath crackhead, basically.
Wow. Wow.
And within the first 2 months, I had about 60% of my upper body back. I couldn't,
Wow.
no fine motor skills just yet, but I could lift elbows. I could halfway sit myself up.
Wow.
I was lifting, chin down to chest type of thing. So it wasn't perfect, but I got
That's
60% of the upper
fantastic.
body.
In two
I was
months.
happy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, I can see. Wow, what a gift. It sounds like a divine messenger entered that room 3 days after your diagnosis, and in amidst the noise and all the chaos of the people telling you everything that you would never amount to. Wow, what a gift. And
Yeah,
I feel like you are carrying that message forward in the work
yeah,
that you're doing. So
absolutely.
lead us into the birth of the Willful Warrior, man.
Yeah. So obviously, as you can tell, I came out of that experience 2 years later, limped away from that one. And took me about 5 years to get like full recovery feeling, all that good stuff. But I was walking within 2 years. And I was always the kid that had to take dad's drill apart. I know
Mm,
it works, but why?
mm, mm.
So that was the start in my journey. I already at that point in time just started diving into everything neuroscience,
Okay.
biology, and whatever else I could find. Like, somebody tell me why that worked.
Wow.
How did that happen? And that has literally been since 1999,
Okay.
about 20 years, yeah, 20 plus years now of learning the neuroscience, psychology, epigenetics behind it, as well as spending the past decade and a half figuring out specific patterns, timing, hold up top, hold down bottom, carbon dioxide tolerance, all of these different parts and pieces to the welcome home method that we've now instituted. And it's been absolutely amazing. And to your point, the great thing is about the time and age that we're in right now is just don't freak out. There is going to be somebody that will give you a different opinion, a different perspective, a potential way out or through whatever you're dealing with right now. This is a time that is rife with possibility and potential. So that is essentially what I've built into the welcome home method. I, of course, work with my veteran brothers and sisters. But lately, my doctorate has now switched thesis wise. I'm moving into doctorate in neurochemistry. And my thesis has now switched to really paying attention to chronic illnesses, because what, 6 or 7 out of 10 people now in the Western culture have a chronic illness.
Yeah.
4 out of 10 people have two or more. Like, oh God, it's literally a time that shows we have been bogged down, to your point, with this false narrative and a bunch of you're all sinners. You were born a sinner. I think that was one of the biggest lies we were ever told, is you were
Yeah.
born broken. Like, what? That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How am I bad?
Yeah.
And I was born.
Just a little ball of light and love when you're,
Like, that makes no sense. So yeah,
well,
to your
because
point.
sex is bad, man. Bad,
Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. I feel like we can have multiple
Yeah,
conversations.
bro. Well, I really appreciate you, and I really love your energy. And I do only have until the top of the hour today, but I would love to
Yeah,
have you back. And
please.
I'd like to dive into the welcome home method. As I told you before the show, the moment home miracle actually came about from the visceral miracle of receiving our daughter during a natural home birth. And Julia did a
Ah,
lot of preparation, meditation, breath. She created a whole wall, her birth affirmation wall, and we prepared her a lot for it. And because she had no no epidural, no pain med. It was totally at home. And she was so present. And Luciana was born with such presence. She looked in my
Wow.
eyes like as if to say, "Oh, that's what you look like," and then turned and looked right into her mother's eyes. Like I'd been speaking for years, and I'd already done some online work with Dr. Joe Spence. And I have a question about him, and maybe
Yeah.
even for him, if it arises to that. But um, and my own miraculous experiences, like literally, a being of light appeared to me in my early 20s in the forest. I've seen things materialize out of thin air, messages I've received from angelic beings like I'm here to help build bridges and help build community centers around the world. And but all that to say, all those experiences I had that were really, like amazing. The birth of our daughter was the most profound, miraculous experience that I ever experienced. And I contemplate it all the time because it's where we all come from. So
Yeah.
just on your note to reinforce it, the idea that we are born in some way that is wrong inherently is so absurd and insane, just as absurd as it was to think that we are, bound to the left side of the brain. It's just like, yeah, man. So no, I really do. I really appreciate it. So tell us more about this because
Yeah.
I think this is the deepest yearning of the soul of who we really are to return home and not only to
Yeah.
return to get there and leave here, but to bring home here on Mother Earth. And that's what heaven on
Boom.
Mother Earth is, right? That's what we're all about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to add to one of the greatest things that I can help people recognize is, to your point, you don't come home so that way it's like, oh, cool, I made it. No, home is where the heart is. That means when you come home to yourself, it travels with you throughout your experiences moving forward. And that's literally what I'm helping people do with the Welcome Home method. All the way to the point now where, as I mentioned, working with chronic illnesses and bigger than that, working with neurodegenerative conditions,
Mhm.
which are prevalent right now, MS, Parkinson's, all of these diseases, pay
Mhm.
attention to that, y'all, disorders.
Mhm.
It's literally the body being out of ease. It is your systems being out of order. And again, we've been lied to be told that we need chemical interference, surgical interference, and all of these other things. Caveat, yes, there are great life-saving techniques, both
Sure.
surgically and medically, that are absolutely necessary. Heck yeah. If I have to go to a hospital and get
Mhm.
surgery to save my life, it's going to happen. I'm not one of those Puritans that believes that it's useless. It's just, it's become this blanket solution that's created all of
Mhm.
these problems. So to that point, what we work on in the Welcome Home method is so many different pieces. There's the cyclic hyperventilation. So you've got the Bastrika breath, the Tumo style type breathing. However, 80%, if not 85% of the work I do with somebody is elevating their carbon dioxide and elevating their carbon dioxide tolerance, because
Interesting.
that's going to keep your body in a more parasympathetic or very
Mhm.
relaxed drive,
Mhm.
right? If you think about it in a very simple sense, every inhale hits your autonomic nervous system on the sympathetic side.
Mhm.
So every inhale is a gas pedal. Every exhale hits the
Mhm.
parasympathetic of your autonomic nervous
Mhm.
system. So every exhale is a brake pedal.
Interesting.
So when you understand that, you know that you can literally create a mixture of 2 to 3, which is a
Mhm.
very easy, it's called a rescue breath,
Okay.
right? So if you're breathing in 5 to 6 seconds, you're going to exhale for double or triple that to help
Okay.
elevate your carbon dioxide. And what we're seeing is amazing. So far, we've had dozens that are regaining sensation. MS patient who I've been working with for the past over 12 months now, 14 years, and hasn't felt anything under his belly button. Just walked up the stairs with help for the first time in
Freaking
14 years,
amazing, man. Hey, wow.
lifting his leg off of. To your point, the impossible just means I'm possible. You just
Yeah.
have to step out of their garbage and come back home to self to recognize anything is possible.
Wow. Thank you for your service, man. And yeah, there's so many interconnections. I really believe that the role of Light Her Vision is to build conscious bridges between individuals like yourself, conscious educators, conscious parents, entrepreneurs, and all really around the heart of children, and
Love it.
re-entering our creatorhood together. I feel like it's so essential that we, like you said, possibility and potential within that scope. Like we are meant to be as I believe as stewards
Yeah.
of Mother Earth, like what is possible here on Earth, like to settle for this iteration of existence as we know it, where there is war, a conflict that leads to war, which, I mean, it saddens me to see that that still is perpetuated as like the number one solution to our problems in all the media and stuff we see. It's like, oh, you got an enemy? Well, you just go kill that enemy because that's the solution. And it's
Right.
like, and it's the same with our ego, right? The solution is not to kill the ego. The solution is to transcend it and for it to become a vehicle of service so that
Yeah.
we can be that embodied true essence of ourselves. And yeah, I really appreciate who you are, man. I have so many questions and I would love to have you back on the show. I'm sure Julia would like to too. And I do want to also invite you to our school community. I know you have a lot going on, but there's other
Cool.
podcast guests and things. You're welcome to be there. And I'm creating a coherent circle, which is really going
Love
to
it.
be the core of a gifts economy where we come. I really feel like generosity is at the heart of the next era when we re-enter into abundant living. And so, anyways, I'm doing something like entrepreneurs do, trying something new and seeing what the resonance is. But
I'm in.
may I ask, yeah, amazing. Well, I'd
I'm
love to
in.
connect with you
Yeah,
there, man.
I'm in, dude. Put me in.
Okay, amazing. You're there. You got a spot for you there, man. Because
Put
I
me
feel
in,
like
coach.
your work, we amplifying this kind of work, we all have, like you said, we have puzzle pieces. So what happens when we come together coherently and not only activate and awaken our soul purposes, but synergize them? And I
Yeah,
feel like this is what all the great avatars have shown us, like Buddha taught very differently than Isa or Yeshua Christ, which it happened to be the being of light that appeared to me. But get this, man, I came from total scientific background, and this is what I wanted to ask you about Joe because I was
yeah.
reading one of Joe's books. I believe it was
Which one?
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Okay, cool. That's a good
And
one. Yeah.
he has this little line, and it says, "I like to think of the creator as a divine, loving intelligence, and yada yada." And there's a little asterisk. I said that sounds a lot to me like Christ's letters, and not a lot of people are talking about Christ's letters. And I realized that Joe, my best guess is he does not publicly talk about Christ or Christ consciousness because to maintain scientific integrity.
Yeah.
But and I just want to loop this, and it's a bigger conversation. Maybe it's like a pin for part two, but part of what I feel like is PTSD is not just within our individual bodies, but within the broader context of our collective consciousness and the land. And
Very
so
much so.
the spirit name that carries me, the Anishinaabe name I was given from one of the grandmothers that I served is Ondakiin, and
Mm,
Aki means land, and it means keeper of the land, like in a
mm,
stewardship role. And in the letters, in Christ's letters, he talks about how he only talked about the Father consciousness to introduce, like, to reject this idea of a God outside of ourselves, but to really
right.
reinforce this parenting impulse that grows in all of life. And he goes to great depth to explain it. But he also brings this element of understanding the mother divine, which is the magnetic drive, and it's all the form. So therefore, you could see our body literally is the land and is our mother. And I
Mhm,
feel like a big part of this breath work that you're talking about is that reunion of heaven
mhm.
and earth coming together and how important that is. And my thing with Joe is like, I'd love to have a conversation with him one day because I feel like I've connected with him and others, and in becoming supernatural, he talks about some past life memories of like being, I think, crucified upside down and stuff. And I'd love to have just like a raw conversation. It doesn't have to even be on the show because my first experience in meditation, I was in the crowd witnessing the crucifixion. And I feel like that was such a traumatic memory for it changed the whole course of time. But I've wondered so much about we how do we release that trauma and see the truth of what he was teaching in terms of what's basically he was teaching yoga, like what's truly
Yeah.
possible when we become enlightened, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He was. And to your point, I read from the Nag Hammadi, the Hermetic texts, the Ethiopian Bible. So all the texts before the Roman Catholic Church pulled 40 different books and burned things so that we couldn't read the entirety of it, and changed things so it sounds like we talked about it was shame. You're gonna spend your whole life like trying to make up for the sinner that you are. Like, oh God. So yeah, to your to your point, I read from those texts. It's actually something that I've woven into the Welcome Home method. But yeah, with him, very spiritual individual. Definitely anti-religion type guy, anti-establishment.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go to one of his week-long retreats, he'll start talking about it in his joking, funny way, like, oh yeah, there's a bearded white dude in the sky, by the way, who's looking down at you, and if you don't listen, he's gonna burn you. But he loves you.
Yeah, but he loves you.
I just want to remind you all of that. And it's like the whole crowd explodes in laughter, even if you're Christian. It doesn't matter what everybody just laughs their butt off because they're like, oh yeah, when you put it like that, that sounds kind of silly.
Yeah. Just like consciousness is relegated to the left hemisphere of the brain.
Right. Yeah,
that processes language. Well, at least our AIs process our large language models, so there must be some consciousness in there. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly right. Yes.
Leland, I mean, what an absolute joy. I'd love to. I mean, I feel like we could talk for hours and hours, and I look forward to continuing to connect and learn and grow alongside you, shoulder to shoulder. I feel like there's so much value in what you're providing. Everyone beyond veterans and obviously that important work. Please let us know what's the best way of connecting with you. I know that you have a ebook that you're making available, how to stop forcing and start allowing your dream life. And what's the best way of connecting with you, brother?
So easiest way, go to the website, thewillfulwarrior.com. And right there at the top is that ebook that you mentioned. And there's also a contact form on there. So if anybody wants to take it even further than that, they can reach out to me and schedule just a clarity call. So yeah, the website, thewillfulwarrior.com.
Beautiful. Really appreciate that, man. And I have this question I love to ask our inspiring guests. If you had a magic megaphone, you could talk to everyone in the world at once and everyone could hear you, what would you share?
Oh, I love this. You are not broken. You are beautifully built. You just need to remember, period. It's all inside of you. That's the other great part about remembering is you don't need anything else or anyone else to remember. It's already in you.
Beautiful, brother. And we can walk each other home too, right?
Amen.
So that's the fun part.
It is, right? Yeah.
You don't need to be a hermit, folks.
Exactly.
So I strongly encourage all our listeners, go check out the Willful Warrior and Leland's amazing work. And thank you so much for coming on the show, Leland. I appreciate meeting another soul brother. And is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before I welcome our daughter to say thanks for watching?
No, I think that's it, but I'm excited to see that. Awesome.
Yeah, so this is Luciana. Her name means light, and it's actually why it's called Light Heart Vision. You know, she's at the heart of what we're doing here, and this is her about a year and a half or so. So now she's almost going to be 2.5. So I'm going to share my screen with her, and it's always good for her. She's hilarious too. What a light, man. Yeah. Blessings to you and everyone you touch, Leland, and to all of our guests out there, best wishes and highest blessings. And here is Luciana.
Thanks for watching. You say ciao, ciao. Bye. I love you so much.